Hey, what's up, world, and welcome to the 116th edition of the Take One Podcast. I am your host, August C. Jones, and today we have a few things that we're going to get into. We're going to talk about Captain Marvel. We're going to talk about Captain Marvel. And if you are a comic book fan, then you know, Shazam, whatever. Anyway, we're going to talk about the box office as well as we're going to talk about what movies are coming to rent on stream and all that stuff. And then we're going to get into some movie reviews and all that stuff. I worked a little extra hard on this podcast. I was going to put it out yesterday, but I had to just get like a whole bunch of stuff and it took up a lot of time. So I am here doing this episode. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into everything. So with all the talk about Captain Marvel this, Captain Marvel that, will it do good? It's feminist. It has an agenda. Captain Marvel, I'm not gonna go see it because it's a woman or blah blah blah. This movie knocked it out the park. I'm not gonna get into the box office segment right now, but talking box office, it knocked it out the park. I mentioned last week on the podcast of like what origin movies have done as far as the MCU. I didn't count any other movies besides that or whatever, but it is one of the highest growth. Actually, I believe it is the highest grossing female-led superhero movie, the highest grossing origin film that has ever came out. And to me, that is world of crazy. And over the weekend, it's done 455 million. And that's worldwide. And just over the weekend, domestically, 153 million. A lot of people didn't even speculate that it was only even touch 100 million. And it far, far exceeded that. And I saw the movie. Don't get me wrong, I saw the movie. I thought it was really good. I liked it. It's a movie that I would see multiple times. I say at least 3 times. It was just that good for me, my experience. But it's not one of the strongest. It's not in my top 5 as far as like favorite MCU films or just favorite comic book movies of all time. But I mean MCU, I would say yeah, it's in the top 10 of all time. I don't even know if it will make the top 10. But at the same time, it is a really, really good movie. And I'm glad to see it. Right now, as of when I made these notes, which was basically, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was basically yesterday. The scores for Rotten Tomatoes is 80%. Metacritic is 64. And then, what is it? Cinema Score. I'm looking at the notes right in front of me. Cinema Score gave it an A, and IMDb gave it a 7.1 out of 10. That's all across the board that it was highly favorable by a lot of people, critics and fans alike. So a lot of these people, they thought they were going to affect it. They thought that they were going to do all this crazy stuff and, let's downrate it before we even see the movie. Like, don't go see this movie. It has an agenda, blah, 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 and all this stuff. And I even read some comments that just made me shake my head. It's like, man, just go see the movie. Just enjoy it. Like, gosh. If you don't want to see the movie because you think it has an agenda, politics, or whatever, no, go see it, man. Go see something else. Go see Madea. I don't think that has any politics to it. But in any case, it did good. All this publicity. This is one of those times where all publicity is good publicity because this was like in the light of just where it was like I was hearing a lot of more controversy coming out of Captain Marvel than just good, whether it was good or not and all this stuff. That's the only thing I was hearing. And obviously it helped the movie because it far exceeded expectations of, I think, even like what Disney was expecting from it. And that is saying an awful lot. That is saying an awful lot. And I'm happy that it did. I really am happy because it deserved it. And that just shows you what type of where MCU is. I mean, you would think that it's coming to a head, that they might end up starting to kind of like end and all this stuff. But man, they've been consistent. Even like their worst movies aren't like just complete dumpster fires, it's like, they have some really bad movies. You could probably make a top 10 of bad movies in the MCU, or probably not, maybe like a top 5 at the least. But this film, I don't know, like it did what it was supposed to do. It was actually a good film. It has some problems, don't get me wrong. It was a good film, but at the same time, it made its money. So, I mean, what more can you ask? What really more can you ask? But it exceed expectations, and I just love to see stuff like that. I really do. But not to even get more into it, I'm going to do a review. I'm still putting it together, that way I can get all my thoughts out right. But I should have a review up within the next couple days. Either today or tomorrow, I'm going to have up my review, as well as a spoiler. I'm going to do a new spoiler podcast, so look out for that. But in any case, let's move on to the next one. So, speaking of Captain Marvel, the first Captain Marvel to ever exist, Shazam movie, is almost right around the corner. It's not that far off. But there have been press screenings and, early screenings and stuff, and the consensus have came out and said that this movie is really good. I looked at a lot of the social media reviews, because the embargo hasn't lifted yet, but the social media reviews have came out, and a lot of people are really up about this movie. There is a lot of positivity come out about this movie, from how it just kind of seemed like DC really is going into a new direction, and it has me hopeful. Like, as much as like I bag on the wall of DC and what they're trying to do, I poo-pooed a Shazam, movie. I poo-pooed all these other films that they talking about having in development and everything else, and it's like, how come we haven't gotten the Batman movie? How come we haven't gotten the Man of Steel 2? How come, where's the Flash movie? Like, what's going on? Like, and they're talking about all these outside projects, a Harley Quinn and Joker movie, a solo Jared Leto Joker movie, Nightwing, a Batgirl, and it's like, what? And I was getting frustrated. But looking at what they've been doing so far, it's like, it seems like they're on the right path. It really does. And just looking back at things, I mean, a lot of y'all could say, like, I would say that they started at Wonder Woman. And I know a lot of y'all be like, okay, but Wonder Woman was good, Justice League was like horrible, and then Aquaman was good, and then this one is getting good reviews. And that's just my point. When you look at when Justice League was created, even though they could have made changes, everything was kind of already in place. The story, they were literally going into shooting, I think like a week or 2 or 3 or whatever after BVS had came out. So they were already in development of Justice League. They made the changes, but we've all seen what the changes have done to the movie. So that was already kind of like, I don't know, like it was like it was already in motion. So I don't really count it. I feel like after Wonder Woman and they saw what they can do with it, what fun they can have with it, Aquaman kind of went, ahead with that, and then Shazam did follow suit, so I think more like, I don't even count Justice League, because like, matter of fact, I have to look up when they came in production, but I don't even count Justice League because that was already kind of like already being made by the person who made the dark and gloomy BVS, which I don't have a problem with the tone. But, when you have another director who knows how to do, stories right, characters right, humor and all that stuff right, as well as action and everything else, and kind of balance everything out, then you're going to come up with like a better story than, you trying to force it in and you don't know how to maneuver it and do it right. And that's why I say I don't really count Justice League. I kind of look like the beginning of this new regime was starting with like Wonder Woman, and it really made it prevalent of, I don't even know if that's a word. It really made it like present during Aquaman, and seeing like, oh, we can make fun and like exciting action films. So we're gonna keep on with this. And now Shazam seemed like it's going the same route. So I don't know, like it really got me more pumped to go see this movie. I really want to see what this movie is all about. I don't think it's gonna knock my socks off, but I want to go into this movie enjoying it, like Captain Marvel. I really want to go into this movie. I'm not expecting too much. Hey, I'm not expecting too much. It may knock my socks off. I might go see it and be like, oh my God, this is so good. And stuff like that. So, I don't know. Like, it got me it got me more excited than I was before. I was really excited to see this movie because it looked interesting. I loved the first trailer for it during Comic-Con. And, hey, I mean, they had me sold ever since then. So, hey, it's always nice to know this. Like, you got two Captain Marvels coming out right around each other, and both of them are getting, like, good reactions. Even Captain Marvel, before it came out, got good reactions, social media buzz, and, like, reviews and everything else, even just regular reviews. And then this one is following suit. Not with all the other controversy, but, it's following suit. And then you got Zachary Levi during that controversy coming out and defending the other Captain Marvel. So everything is working in cahoots with each other, and that's a good thing. So it's always nice to see it, because a lot of times we're following a MCU movie up with a bad DC movie, or a bad DC movie is always followed up with a good MCU movie. So it's really good to go into a Captain Marvel movie, an MCU movie, and come out of that going into a DC movie that is equally, if not better, as good, and stuff like that. And then just going on. So I want every comic book movie to be good. I even want Hellboy, even though I have low expectations for it. I want to go in that, and I want it to change my mind. So yeah, I mean, it's all what it is. It's all what it is. But I'm truly excited. I'm glad that both of these movies are like getting positive vibes. One already put positive vibes out in the universe. The other one is starting to do it, and everything is just seem like it's coming together. So hey, there's more power to it. I just wish that I would have gotten that early screening for Shazam, which was yesterday, maybe days prior, because I got a early screening, like, not even invite, but like notification for it yesterday, and like right when I got into it, it was like I was too late. So, but in any case, let's go ahead and move over to the box office segment. Now, for those who don't know how the box office segment goes, here's how it go. I basically run down what my predictions were last week for this past weekend, what actually won the weekend, and then give what other movies are coming out this week, and then give my predictions for this weekend. So let's go ahead and jump right into that. So my predictions for this weekend wasn't too far off. This past weekend wasn't too far off. I had Captain Marvel at number 1, Dragons 3 at number 2, Madea Family Funeral at number 3, Alita Battle Angel at number 4, and Lego 2 at number 5. It's a lot of numbers dealing with this, but I wasn't too far off. So here is what won the weekend. Captain Marvel came in at number 1 over the weekend with 153.4 million, which brings it out to a worldwide total of 455 million. How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World over the weekend did 14.6 million. Madea Family Funeral, or Tyler Perry's Madea Family Funeral, over the weekend took in 12.4 million. The Lego Movie 2, the second part, over the weekend did 3.8 million, and Alita Battle Angel round up the top 5 with 3.2 million. Man, these are some movies. Like, what really stands out to me is, of course, I had already spoke on it, Captain Marvel doing the numbers that it was doing. It was just crazy. But just when you look at the numbers from what Captain Marvel did over the weekend all the way to number 2, it is a huge gap from 153.4 million to 14.6 million. It is a huge gap. So if anything is coming out after this weekend, which looking at the movies, none of them is going to take the number 1 spot. None of them has a chance in hell. if one of them does, I literally would say that the film company, the film studio, bought tickets for the movie, and that's the reason why. Because yeah, none of these movies have a chance of making it. But I mean, that's really kind of like the only thing that stands out. I mean, I was right about Captain Marvel. I knew that it was going to do gangbusters. I knew it was going to take the #1 spot. I just didn't know that it was going to do what it did. I don't think anybody really knew besides like the people that was tracking, because it was tracking for about that much. Close to it, like 150, something like that. But a lot of people didn't believe it because of the simple fact that it was like, yeah, nah, I don't think it's going to make that much. But hey, we were all wrong. We were all wrong. But in any case, that's really the only thing that stands out to me. All right, so let's jump right into what's coming out this week. Now, there are 5 movies coming out this week. The first of the 5 is 5 Feet Apart, which stars Cole Sprouse and Haley Lou Richardson. And it's about 2 teens who are hospitalized because of a disease they have and who eventually fall in love, but with one catch. They cannot come within a certain distance of each other or else maybe risking death. So it's all basically for you romantic types or whatnot. And if you're looking for a kids film, there's an animated kids film called Wonder Park, which stars Brianna Densky, Jennifer Garner, and Kenan Thompson. And it's about a little girl who creates an amusement park while she's young named Wonderland with her mother. And after losing her mother, she loses all sense of imagination and wonder until finding a real Wonder Park in the woods while she's at math camp. Now she has to team up with the talking animals of the theme park to stop the end of Wonderland from these chimpanzee zombies. And bring it back to life. So if you have kids, that'll probably be a good film for you to take them to. And next up is a sci-fi thriller for you sci-fi heads called Captive State. And it stars Ashton Sanders, Vera Farmiga, and John Goodman. And it takes place in Chicago a decade after aliens land and explores the life of both sides of the conflict. And the next movie that's up on the list is Nancy Drew in the Hidden Staircase, which stars Sophia Lillis, and she's the girl who plays Beverly in 2017's It movie. And this movie is about Nancy Drew being recruited to solve a case involving a haunted house and to find out whether it's real or not. And the last movie that's coming out this week is a period film called The Aftermath. Now, surprisingly, it's not starring Dr. Dre, but it is starring Jason Clarke, Keira Knightley, and Alexander Skarsgård. And it takes place in 1946, and it's about a couple who has to share their new home with its previous owners, and in doing so, the atmosphere intensifies with enmity and grief that leads to passion and betrayal. And those are the movies coming out this weekend. My priorities, I don't know. I know I'm definitely going to go see all these movies. Aftermath looks really good. Wonder Park, I'm definitely going to take my son to go see it. He wants to see it. 5 Feet Apart looks interesting. Captive State, I wasn't really too fond of it at first, but as I started to see the trailers play a little bit more often now since it's about to come out, I found myself a little bit more wanting to go see it. Nancy Drew is a movie that will be the last priority. That will be a movie that I would just probably wait to see. But I would say out of all these, 5 Feet Apart would be a movie that I would want to see first. And then Captive State, Aftermath, Wonder Park is somewhere in between there. And Nancy Drew will be the last one. So let's go ahead and get into the weekend predictions. Then I'm going to tell you what is coming out to home video, if that phrase is even used anymore. Then we're going to get into the movie reviews. So what I think will win this coming weekend will be Captain Marvel will take the #1 spot again. And Wonder Park, I'll say it's going to come in at #2. It's not going to take the #1 spot. Not at all, but I believe that it is going to do that. Dragons 3 is going to come in at #3. Medea Family Funeral is going to be at #4. And 5 Feet Apart, I think that may end up taking the #5 spot. I might be wrong. 5 Feet Apart might take the #2, and Wonder Park might take the #5 spot. But hey, hopefully all these movies are good. Hopefully they do well, which I don't think a lot of these movies will, but those are my predictions. Captain Marvel #1, Wonder Park #2, Dragons #3, and Medea Family Funeral #4, and then 5 Feet Apart at #5. So yeah, there you have it. And so something new I'm gonna do on the podcast. What is coming new to rent, own, or stream? So we got 4 movies that are coming now that you may end up wanting to check out if you hadn't got a chance to check it out before. But Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald is coming out to rent, own, or stream actually today, as well as Green Book, London Fields, and Mortal Engines. So if you guys are interested in any of those movies, wanting to go check them out, didn't get a chance to see it, heard a lot about them, whatever, go ahead. This is your time. Don't want to buy it, rent it, stream it, whatever. And those are the movies that's coming out. So with that out the way, let's go ahead and jump right into these movie reviews. So the first movie I'll be reviewing is Fantastic Beasts: The Crimes of Grindelwald, which comes out today. But it stars Eddie Redmayne, Jude Law, and Johnny Depp, amongst other people. And it's about Newt, played by Eddie Redmayne, a magic zoologist, is recruited by Dumbledore, played by Jude Law, to take down Grindelwald, played by Johnny Depp, a very powerful dark wizard who wants to essentially take over the world, making wizards the more dominant people above nomads, which are mortal human people. And this movie has a lot going against it, but has a lot going for it. So basically, some of the best things about it is that the visuals are like crazy good. I really love just how everything looks. It's visually stunning, just beautiful to look at. And it will get you immersed into the world, the wizarding world and all that stuff. And it has great world building. I mean, they established a lot of it during the Harry Potter movies, but I'm not a really big Harry Potter fan, but I was immersed into this world and I really liked the visuals and everything else. And the acting was good. Eddie Redmayne, I love him as Newt. I love Jude Law as Dumbledore, as well as like the person that just took it, that just knocked it out the park, that just took every scene that he was in, was Johnny Depp as Grindelwald. Him as the villain was just perfect. He does really good. He works his magic, pun intended, in this. And like I said, just the look and the feel, the tone of the movie is dark, but at the same time is wonderful. Like, or how do you say, wonder? It has a lot of wonder, to it, and everything just kind of like, that was a lot that worked for it. But it did have a lot that worked against it. It had too much going on with the story and just the action. It couldn't balance everything. Really had a hard time balancing everything. A lot of the action scenes, it was hard to follow what was going on. And it just kind of like took you out of the scene because it was like, or just it took me out of the scene because this is my thoughts. But yeah, just the main story. And it has several several subplots with different characters that really lead to nowhere, that really could have just been taken out of the movie, really didn't have no significance to it, and it was just throwaway characters that you knew that was gonna die or just whatever, or you didn't care for. It's just too many throwaway characters, and it has a lot of relationship drama. Like literally every single person in this movie was in a relationship or a complicated relationship with another person. And it was just it came off more of like a romantic drama than anything else. And it has heavy exposition up in there. Like it was points where it's like they had to explain everything. And after a while, it's like, okay, come on, like get to this. And it was just, that's really what this film consists of. It's just, it felt like it was setting up for the third film, where the first film did what it did. And this one was just a setup for the third film. It's just, they just kind of used this film as a stepping stone, and they could have done a lot more. But this was a good film. It did have great visuals. It had a decent story. The acting was on like just like crazy good. And you don't have to be a Potterhead. You in order to like this movie. You won't feel excluded, because I surely didn't. You can watch this movie and really like it, and it's definitely not as good as the first one, but at the same time it's still watchable and worth checking out, so I'll give it a 7 on that. So next is the Oscar winning Best Picture Green Book, which stars Mahershala Ali, Viggo Mortensen, and Linda Cardellini. And Green Book is based off of a true story about a relationship that is formed between two unlikely people, Tony the Lip, played by Viggo Mortensen, and Dr. Donald Shirley, played by Mahershala Ali. And Tony is hired by Dr. Shirley to be his muscle when needed and a driver to navigate him through the Deep South on a tour in 1962 using the Green Book, when at the time it still wasn't okay for blacks around the South. This movie surprised me going into it because I didn't expect it to win me over the way it did. Some of the best things that came out of this movie was just the acting is crazy good. I mean, they won Oscars for it. So, I mean, that's telling. That's really telling. Mahershala Ali and Viggo Mortensen play off of each other so well. Just the chemistry between both characters, how from the time that they start to the way they end at the end of the movie, and everything in between. It's really like intriguing and entertaining to see their progression in their friendship and everything else, their ups and downs, and what they learn from each other, and just seeing everything on the opposite side. And it's really good, as well as the story. The story is simple. It's just a black guy is doing a tour in the Deep South, where, you know, it's just at a time where black people are not accepted amongst white people, and he has to do this, and they have to follow this Green Book, which shows where blacks can travel without running into white people like that. I mean, it's not avoidable, but it makes it kind of like, this is where you can go, this is where you can stay at, this is where you can eat, this is where you whatever. And they have to follow it basically to the T. And just the relationship that develops between them is like it's really good. It's really it. It really is. And it does have a lot of humor. It's very funny, just the interaction between them. And that goes with the chemistry, the writing, and just how these characters deliver everything. Everything is really good. It's inspiring. Like, it's one of those movies that just inspire you to just be good. Just, be grateful for certain friendships that you got, because you never know what type of what may happen. It's something like that, and it has a lot of heart. You'll go into it and you'll just end up just loving the film. You just end up loving the characters at the end of it. The relationship between Viggo Mortensen's character and his wife and his kids, everything is just so good. It didn't go crazy with the strength of racism. It didn't go too, explicit as far as like what we saw, the visuals and everything else, but it's all good. And just the Green Book thing, it wasn't a major part of it. I mean, it played somewhat of a role, but it kind of played the background. It was more about these two characters. And so at the end of the day, this movie was funny. It was very character driven and with likable characters, a great story. And it's just a great family film. It's a great film, period. And I know some people might be turned off and saying that it was too friendly, and it just, when it came to like the racism, and that it was like just really a crowd pleaser, but that didn't bother me. At the end of the day, it's a family film, and that's what it came out to be, and that's what it delivered. And it was good on that, and it was just a good film at its core. And with that, I give it a 9 because I really, really, truly enjoyed it. One of the best films I've seen last year. And the last film that I'll be reviewing on this podcast is Mortal Engines, which stars Hira Hilmar, Robert Sheehan, and Hugo Weaving. And this movie takes place in a post-apocalyptic future where cities run on wheels. A young woman named Hester Shaw, played by Hilmar, sets out for revenge after the death of her mother at a young age, which has her targeting a man named Valentine, played by Weaving, who she feels is responsible. With vengeance on her mind, she teams up with an unlikely ally named Tom, played by Sheehan, to fulfill a much bigger purpose than what she intended on. And this movie, I really didn't know exactly what to think about it. It looked crazy. You got cities on wheels, so I'm just like, I'm about to go into this just expecting to like it. And just overall, I really did come out of here enjoying it. Some of the best things that this movie had to offer was the CG. It looked incredible, and at $100 million budget, yeah, you better expect it to look crazy good, and just the imagery and everything else was looking super good. Like the CG was one of the shiny stars out of the whole film. Like it really was the one thing that truly stand out amongst anything else. And it had some good ideas, it had some good concepts and everything else from what it was trying to do. And I really kind of felt I fell along with it. So that was one of the things that I did that did come into my favor. And the action fight scenes was done pretty well. I mean, I did like them. Like I said, the CG with the cities and all that stuff on wheels, and even just the regular hand-to-hand combat shooting fight scenes, I really did enjoy. And some of the worst things about this was the characters were really bad at like playing stuff low key. It was like they acted suspicious whenever they were, not supposed to be doing something, or just, a bad guy was supposed to be a bad guy, but they was trying to keep it low key. It was just, they just act overly suspicious to where it was like, yeah, you're not playing this subtle. You're really not. And that's going to bring me to another character. So before I get into that, the side quests. They have a side quest in here that just was kind of like, they could have did without. Some of the side characters was just there. They really added nothing more to the story, and the side quest was just something just to make the runtime just kind of filler for the movie to exist in a I believe it was like a 2-something hour type deal, but it just didn't work. Just speaking of the characters that are suspicious, the villain, Hugo Weaving as Valentine, it was certain scenes where he was supposed to act just subtle as, I'm not the villain, just a kind of like misdirect, and he just didn't. And I'm just like, really? So you're just gonna be the bad guy? Like, just forget it. You're just gonna be the bad guy. Like, forget the subtlety. I'm the bad guy, and that's it. It was just kind of like laughable. And the story was okay to me. Like, I didn't hate it like everyone else, but I could see where it didn't work. Some of the things that could have helped it better was the world building. It really didn't have no world building. It really didn't make any sense to like how, I mean, it explains how it got to the way it was, but just the cities on wheels, like it was a kind of a different concept, but at the same time, it was weird. How did it get to that point? It really didn't explain it too much to where it was like, I was just kind of confused. Like, okay, yeah, these look cool, but how did the idea come by putting cities on wheels? Like, and just stuff like that. But overall, this movie it has some enjoyment out of it. It's a very high budget B movie with a lot of problems, but I found some enjoyment out of it, and it was entertaining to me, visually stunning, really good to look at, but it just kind of failed as a movie, I guess you could say, or a good movie. I'll give it a 6. It wasn't horrible. I still enjoyed it, but hey, I mean, that's just me. And so with that said, that ends the podcast movie reviews as well as it ends this podcast. I'd like to thank you guys for joining me. And I will have another podcast or two up this week. I have a lot more to talk about. A lot more has hit the movie sphere and all that stuff. And I want to just sink my talents into. So until then, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for listening. Peace out. Hey, before you guys leave, make sure you hit that like button as well as that subscribe button. And you see that little bell, make sure you hit that to turn on your notifications. That way you'll be notified for anything that appears on my channel. Hope to see you guys next time. Peace out.